or suicidal. Please call the state correctional institution immediately. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now. Everyone, this is a state of an emergency. It is now 2017, and we the people declare war on cancer, AIDS, HIV, and hepatitis. I have on the line Brother General, also known as Eric Riddick, who is the author of this profound book titled The Fringe Papers. How are you today?
I'm good. Happy New Year.
Same to you. So today we'll be reading an interview that you had with HRC, which is the Human Rights Coalition, which is in your book.
Right.
But before we go into this broadcast, I have two questions for you. One, what do you think about the title, The Fringe Revolution? And two, if there's anything you would like to share before we start this interview, just let me know.
Okay. Well, first of all, The Fringe Revolution, that title to explain the movement that we put together is the perfect title for this reason. Those two words, fringe and revolution. Fringe, a lot of people have heard the word fringe as it pertains to a fringe scientist. Fringe just basically means you on the outskirts or the outer perimeter of certain standards. You know, for someone to be on the fringe of something is to be on the outside of the norm, unorthodox, unrestricted by the standards or established opinions. And a lot of times that's necessary when you're trying to look for something different. You're trying to look for an alternative. You know what I mean? To be on the fringe of established opinions like in science or medical medicine. You know, if the people is being faced with an ailment or a sickness that the standard medical community and science community, the orthodoxy, is unable to find cures for whatever reason, when you're faced with a crisis like that, then someone or the people will have to step outside of the standard opinions that have already proven to be insufficient to address that crisis. You have to go on the fringe, start looking into alternatives, and you have to be bold enough to do it, because those of us who choose to go on the fringe is going to be scrutinized by the orthodoxy, you know, by the FDA, and so forth. You know, so that's a perfect title. Revolution means just means change. You know, to be about a change. You know, that title has been controversial over the years, and vilified over the years. But revolution just means to bring about a change.
Right.
You know, and again, our people in the face of so much death that's manifested from this molecular activity called cancer and other viruses and diseases. We don't have the luxury of waiting. You know, when our loved ones is dying in the face of these devastating viruses and diseases.
Absolutely.
As far as do I want to share anything else? I actually would like to share the foreword of the book. Allow that to be an introduction into the interview. So without further ado, I'm going to read the foreword.
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Chester. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
I'd like to read the foreword to the book, The Fringe Papers. All right?
All right, go ahead.
All right. The foreword. Knowledge is foundational, and it is better than wealth. For knowledge protects you while you have to protect your wealth. Knowledge increases and compels correct action, but wealth gradually decreases as it is spent. It is common knowledge as to what DNA is, although it may not be so common to know what the letters DNA may stand for, which is deoxyribonucleic acid. Most people still have at least a vague understanding of what it is and how it functions. Even some young children know that a DNA test can be used to determine whether or not a particular man is their biological father. What most people don't know is that DNA has a counterpart, which is ribonucleic acid or RNA material, which is just as, if not more important to the human organism than DNA. DNA and RNA are two major nucleic acids which facilitate the productive maintenance of life within living organisms. Normally, DNA is the forerunner in the transmission of hereditary information from one generation to the next. And RNA is an essential component of all living cells. Also, RNA is an integral constituent of the chemical processes continuously going on inside of all living organisms and cells. There are no
This is a call from Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Chester. This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
There are no known living organisms that doesn't require some form or variation of RNA material to ensure its maintenance and well-being. When looking from the standpoint of the human organism, DNA and RNA go hand in hand. RNA material is essentially the chemical of life, for there are no living organisms that can thrive or flourish while there is a deprivation of this required variation of RNA material, which is genetic material. Inside the human organism in particular, there can be no synthesis of proteins or other vital cellular materials without its required variation of RNA material. An inadequate acquisition of the required variation of RNA material will result in many deficiencies on the cellular level. As you read the Fringe papers, you will see that RNA material is not only the very chemical of life, but it also simultaneously is the chemical of death. On one hand, there are multitudes of RNA expressions like macromolecular proteins, carbohydrates, like T cells, and things like that are imperative to the well-being of the human organism. And in the same thought, there are a host of RNA expressions. For example, lipoprotein developed RNA micromolecules, which is the causative agent of AIDS, which they don't tell you, and what is called a carcinogen, which is the causative agent of cancer, which they very speak about, that is unnaturally introduced into the blood vascular and interconnected fluid system of the human, will pose a nightmare proposition to the human organism. Cancer, AIDS, hepatitis, heart disease, hypertension, and many other ailments people suffer from are all effects whose cause lies in some expression of RNA material. With the knowledge that RNA plays such an extremely important role in the lives and deaths of the people, it is a strange wonder that there is an entire library dedicated to the cumulative study of the biomolecular compositions, activities, and interactions of RNA material. For the past 2,000 years, the world of medicine has been looking in the wrong direction for the eradication of diseases and viruses, focusing primarily on treating effects, regulating symptoms rather than eliminating causes. It is a bona fide fact of life that countless people treat the symptoms of a problem while nurturing the cause. It is imperative that we familiarize ourselves with RNA expressions and their implications, for our lives truly depends on it. The Fringe papers is dynamic, clear, concise, and comprehensive. Never before has such a wealth of knowledge been published and made available to the people. With the amount of sickness and plagues that plagues us, and the amount of sickness that medicine causes us, the timing for the release of my book, The Fringe Papers, could never be better. The Fringe Papers is unequivocally a basic necessity, a true guide to holistic health and well-being. Knowledge is to comprehend the reality of something as it truly is, with certainty. The Fringe Science Research Team approach to the science is grounded in empirical truth. The Fringe Science Research Team has intimate knowledge of the build-up and breakdown caused by RNA expressions and how they correlate to the overall quality of health within the human organism. The mindset of the scientist is crucial to all work conducted by him or her. In the process of unfolding scientific observations, every step of the scientific method is unconsciously projected onto the formulation of the initial question of the example. There's a very, very thin line between education and indoctrination. And had the Fringe Science Research Team learned about the various sciences, for example, biochemistry, molecular biology, soil biochemistry, metabolism, physics, etc., from a textbook standpoint only, from the self-proclaimed authorities in these respective fields, our education or indoctrination would have been compartmentalized, and rather than being taught how to think, we would have been taught what to think. Being implored to attach ourselves to the opinions of the so-called pioneer forerunners of these sciences, thus producing an inability to recognize the interdependence of science. In closing, one cannot truly know about molecular biology without understanding the aspects of physics that correlate to it. And with that said, that's very important. There's a very, very thin line. I'm going to reiterate that. Very thin line between education and indoctrination. Before I read the Fringe thing, before I wrote the Fringe papers, if my mind would have been stuck on established opinions, then I wouldn't have been able to look outside the box. Look where the orthodoxy is not looking. When they study in biochemistry or physics alone, without studying soil biochemistry or botany. You know what I mean? If the cure is in plants and you don't study soil biochemistry, but you know everything else about every other molecular biology aspect, you can know all those things, but because you haven't studied this field, you don't know where to look for. You don't know the importance of the medicinal element or the curative aspect of plants. So you would never look towards plants. You would never study soil biochemistry and find out that plants is programmed to build up, this is the key, to build up micromolecules from the dirt and translate them into macromolecular proteins. So if the nature of viruses and disease, and this is the simple point right here, every virus and disease is predicated on a micromolecular nature. And the plant's primary constitution is a system called anabolism, which means to build up. That's why you ever heard of anabolic steroids. It means to build something up. Mm-hmm. So once you build up a micromolecule, it's no longer viral. It's no longer a viral particle. So if plants have the ability to take in these micromolecules from the dirt, all these things that cause us diseases and viruses, take them in from the dirt and build them up. How do they build them up? It's all in the book. You add nitrogen. Nitrogen is the primary constituent of protein. Our bodies, as humans, are sustained on the protein that drives our body.
Wow. So, I'm going to kind of go back a little bit. Is it kind of safe to say that our traditional, medical doctors, who study all these things, they're learning the source, or they're not really being taught the source. They're being told this is where it comes from, and that's that. When in reality, if they knew exactly where it came from, they'll be better able to treat it. Am I saying that right?
Absolutely. Anytime you have something, right? You study the environment that something naturally supposed to exist in. For example, AIDS, what they call AIDS. AIDS is lipoprotein developed RNA material. If you study the origin of HIV, and you find out, well, where in nature is the HIV? Where in nature would
we have 1 minute left.
The function of HIV be conducive? You'll find out in soil. Soil biochemistry, the micromolecules in the dirt is there so that when proteins like a body or something else go into the dirt, those micromolecules break down the proteins in that material, like horse manure. That's fertilizer, because horse manure is macromolecular proteins that's breaking down. The micromolecules.
Well, I don't want the phone to hang up, but our next interview is going to go right into your interview with HRC that's in the book. So I tell y'all to stay tuned. Thank you, brother gentlemen, for speaking with me.
Thank you. Thank you.